Hey guys, hope you guys are having a solid week so far. We've got one more day of trading left here. I want to take the time to just provide you guys a quick trade review. I posted it on JIG that I said I would do it again just because of the trade that I took today. If for those who have not seen already, last week or earlier this week, I think, I posted a YouTube video on my 10K day that I had last week. And I actually took the exact same trade again this week, just with smaller size. And I also kind of flipped it around and went longs as well off similar areas of interest. So I want to talk a little bit about that today. So I'm going to go over what my trade was, what I got out of it, how I figure out my channels, and why that's important to me. I can't speak too much on the levels today. Again, out of respect to my mentor, I won't speak to that too much, but I don't think it's the super most important thing anyways at this point in time. I think the channels are still very valuable to speak on. And then I'll talk about some trading psychology and my experience so far as a prop firm trader since August of last year. So I'm going to dive right into this right now. So first and foremost, as you can see on the screen here, I have highlighted the opening print candle from the New York session today. Now, I am going to say that right out the gates, when we got those longs, I just sat on my hands. Now, I know a lot of people that I trade with on Discord already, part of the rate trade server group, or just individuals in general, right? We spoke about a lot that, those individuals went long, and that's perfectly fine. A lot of people made some really good money right out of the gates in the first 5 minute candle. I did not. I waited. I waited because I had a short bias again because we were coming up to the same area. So on the Discord, I posted that I was interested in this area. I said that the night before that I'm not interested in taking any overnight trades, and I'm looking for us to come back up here again to see how it would react. And now, why was this area important? So I talked about this actually in my last video. When I took my trade on Friday for that 10K day, this was the trade that I took, and I shorted it all the way down, and I shorted that with three contracts as well. So that was a very solid trade overall. I won't talk about it again because if you have any questions, you can watch the video I posted already prior to. But you can see that we've actually tested this area before. So the same reason why I was interested in shorting this on Friday last week, it was the same reason here. We double topped at the channel, right? And so for those who've been following me will know that I double tops, double bottoms. Those are plays that I do generally like to take. And again, I mean, you can never just take a trade verbatim off of that simple alone. You have to run things in conjunction with each other. But nevertheless, that's kind of why I was interested. So again, when we came today, we were back to this area again. So I took this trade essentially from the reject of this candle. So now that we kind of talked about that, I'm going to dive into the exact breakdown now. So on the 2 minute time frame, you will see that this was the opening print candle. We pushed our way up here. I saw resistance here. And as the moment we opened the next candle, I took my short trade here. The full move was about over 100 points as it tagged the mastermind level here, 838. I didn't actually sell here. I continued to hold because I wanted to see if we would continue that same trade from Friday. And so again, I was willing to put that risk in, right? And obviously it pulled back up. And when it pulled back, it stopped me out, which is where I exited for 60 points, which I probably should move this over here actually, because it would have been here that I would have gotten stopped out. So I got stopped out. So I still got 60 point profit, right? And so that's still really solid, right? That's a little over $1,000, right? And then we came back up and we came back here again. So once again, I took the short trade. Now, this was actually a failed trade. Now, could it have been a winning trade? Yes, it could have been. And you might ask, Alan, why would you not just take the profit instead of being greedy and holding? The reason why I still want to hold this and to see if we would break it this time for real was because of the fact that we had already considered this a triple top, and this would have been like a quadruple top this time, right? So for me, I just thought, you know what, there's maybe a very high possibility that we can actually really pull further down. So that's why I held it, and I want to see what would happen. But when we came up here, we had some resistance, as you can see here in the candles, but we did breach above, and so it hit my stop loss of 30 points. So I took the L there. At this point in time, as you can see, I'm still up 30 points in profit for the day. So I waited and I made a comment as well when I was on voice with a couple of the mastermind guys. I made the comment that, if I was to go longs, I would wait for us to retest the same area that we were rejecting before. And so beautifully it did, it presented itself. We had a bearish candle that came down and we tested the support. We had a 2 minute doji candle that held again bullishly. So I entered it on the next 2 minute candle here. And from here, I rode this all the way to the top. I even made the comment. We had three mastermind levels here before, and I made a comment that I did not care for the first one or the second one. I was more interested in the third one. And because of the fact that it was running in conjunction with the channel. And for me, generally, when I have both of them side by side, that is kind of where my conviction comes into play. And obviously, it was the right call to make. I did sell this fairly early, but I mean, I think all things considered, it was clearly the right call, as you can see how the day went later on. Um, but I sold here for about 80 points. So in total, this was about a $1,500 trade. And based on these candles, it was about 30 minutes, right, altogether. And so you can see how why this channel was so important to me. I shorted the channel in the same way that I played longs off the channel, right? Now, later on in the day, there were opportunities that presented itself as well, as you can see. You can also see how we consolidated on that channel that I had up here or again before we continued to push up. Now, I won't speak to that much because I didn't trade that, but I think all in all, it's important to understand that trades will present itself, and it's up to us to decide whether they are the right setups for us to take or not. It's so important for us to be very systematic about our setups, right? So if you generally risk 30 points, make sure that you risk 30 points for this trade. If you generally are looking for 60, 90 points or whatever that may be, do what you got to do. I've had some questions asked to me about like, I'm trading with a prop firm. Some of them have consistency rules. What should I do? So I'm gonna talk to them about a little bit, right? So for those who know, I trade on multiple prop firms. I trade with my fund of futures. I trade with Tradeify. I used to trade with fund of futures family. The only reason why I'm not trading with them right now is because I'm waiting to be moved live right now because I've already made my cap there. And now I'm trading with Top Step as well. And so what I do actually is I trade each of my accounts individually. I do not copy trade any of them, right? And so when I trade my accounts individually, I will have a rule that I only trade two trades per account. So if I've already traded twice, then I'll move on to the next account, right? And so on and so forth. And so occasionally I will do the third trade. I mean, it really depends on the chart, but definitely will never exceed that amount. The reason why I trade accounts individually is because for me right now, as a person who's still learning the craft of trading, I'm really just focusing on chart time and practice, wax on and wax off. But I got to do that without tilting myself, right? So I don't want to blow my accounts. So by, hopping from account to account with that rule of two trades per account, it ensures that even if I were to take two L's and I take two L's again on the next account, I'm not going to tilt over the fact that I'm blowing my accounts. That's actually how I've survived to hold a lot of my accounts over the course of time. Now, as I say that, it doesn't mean I haven't blown accounts. During August and November, I've been telling people who've been following me know this already, but I blew a lot of accounts, right? Like I'm talking like with my fund of futures, that was my first one. I probably blew like 20 or 30 accounts, right? Going through the learning curve. And every single time I hopped into a new prop firm, whether it's Tradeify or Top Step or Fund of Futures Family, I would blow 5 to 10 accounts. I would almost consider a rite of passage. Now, you might say, Alan, like that's kind of crazy. How do you keep doing that? Well, whenever I hop into a new prop firm, different prop firms have different rules. And with different rules comes a different mindset for me and how I trade. I know it seems kind of weird because I mean, charts are charts, you should trade the same, and you're absolutely right. But I do know that personally, it mentally does affect me. And so whenever I take on a new prop firm, I always kind of back test and trial and error. With the evals, I size a little bit higher, but when I go into the funded, I size definitely smaller. And so again, there's a lot for me to go into those topics alone. I'm just kind of briefly touching on them because there have been questions that have been asked about, why I trade multiple accounts and why I trade them individually and I don't copy trade. That is the reason. I'm considering everything that I do right now as a training ground. I am fine tuning the craft in hopes that one day I can then get to a stage where like some of the veteran traders out there, like Umar and Andrew from Stock Market Wolf, like those guys who are trading less but still making more money. I'd love to get to that stage. Right now, I'm really focusing on wax on, wax off. Again, might be an unpopular opinion for people because they might think that, you're Alan, maybe you're forcing trades. And sometimes I probably am. And I think that is part of me trying to fine tune and back test my trading system so that I can see what setups I really like based on consistency and predictability and which ones I don't like, right? Um, And so I'll touch on also like which ones I start off with. So my fund of futures I trade with first, generally speaking, because that is the one that has the consistency rule. Kind of similarly to Tradeify as well. So I start with my fund of futures and then I move on to Tradeify. And I usually trade them during the Asia session because I'm scalping. And scalping is all I really need to do because of the fact that there are consistency rules. I'm not looking to shoot for the stars. And so there's enough meat on the bone during the Asia session for me to hit the consistency rules I need to pass those accounts, right? And that's how I've been able to get my consistent payouts with them, right? And so, anyways, that's just my two cents on that part. The New York session, however, I generally save ones that have a little bit more flexibility. So back then, I would used to trade my fund of futures family account on at the New York session because their drawdowns and the rules are a lot more flexible. And in the same way that with Top Step now, right? Because Top Step allows me the flexibility to treat it kind of like a my fund of futures expert account. I trade the New York session with that because I don't have to hesitate about holding on for the larger moves, right? And so anyways, so there's that. And those are just a few thoughts I want to share with you guys. And I realize I don't think I really touched on the whole channel part, so I'll zoom out again here just to kind of show you guys, right? But I did kind of talk about this last time already, but in the same way that I told you that I was interested in shorting here because of that, what I'll generally do when I'm looking at level or channels here, and I'm sorry that I know it looks really, really messy here when you look at it this way because there's so much going on. Let me just close off some of the stuff so it's cleaner. Close off the indicators so they're not so much noise. Hopefully that's a little bit cleaner. Um, I basically am scanning through to take a look at where we test the most for support and resistance. And so the areas where there is the most reaction throughout the chart, those are generally where I draw my channels. And I usually do it on the hourly time frame. Now, I know a lot of people do it on the 4 hour time frame as well. I mean, really, I don't think there's a right or wrong. It really just comes down to, again, what you prefer. And I think that's so important. Don't just be like, oh, Uchiha, you're doing hourly, so I'm just gonna copy that. I'm like, well, if it works for you, fantastic, right? But I think every trader will take a look at things a little bit differently, and that's okay. I find that for my fine tuning of how I trade, I like to draw my channels based off of the hourly, and you can see at the bottom here that I do base it off of the extended time period because I trade futures, I trade on either Asia, London, and New York. I want to make sure I capture all of the data of information when I mark these channels off, right? And so again, I don't trade simply just on channels. You might look at this chart in hindsight and be like, wow, it's so predictable. I should just every single time I hit a channel, I'll just short. Every single time I hit the channel, I'll just long. It's not that easy. If it was that easy, I think everyone would be making bank on the market, right? I think all in all, it's important for us to look and then run it in conjunction from a lot of different things, right? I am a student of Jake Ricci. I was a mastermind student, so there are things that I've taken from there about market structure, trend line, multi-time frame analysis. I've taken a lot from there. In the same way that where I started my journey with Stock Market Wolf, I've taken a lot from training in his server in the early days as well. So my approach to the market is a hybrid of the two with things that I've also kind of figured has worked for me that maybe not work for Jake or Andrew, but it works for me. And I think that's what's important. I think both of those veterans in this industry will say the same thing, right? It's not about simply just copying what they do. I think it's about taking what works for you and really fine tuning it so that you can master your craft. And I think with that said, I get this question a lot. Alan, what's your strategy? Uchiha, what's your strategy? Well, I think that's a loaded question because even in this YouTube video alone, I can't explain all of it to you guys because there's a lot more to it than just that. I think it's important that when we take a look at this, whatever strategy you've got going on, you got to back test it. And I don't mean trial a couple times and you're losing and then you move on to another. You got to remember that whatever your strategy is, it works for your specific market conditions that you'd like to trade in, whether you're a short trader or whether you're a long trader, so many factors. But anyways, I think I'll save that for another day. I'm probably running along too long here already as it is, but hopefully that adds a little bit of value. And again, as always, if you guys have any questions or comments, please drop them down below. Like and subscribe. Again, the more that I can get this out there, the better. I'm really trying to build a following here so I can share my journey as a trader for free for everyone. And yeah, anyways, it would mean a lot if you guys can subscribe and like. So until next time, talk to you soon.